do want to go on now to the MAC championship game. And that, I mean, such a key game. Northern Illinois, the Huskies were rolling coming into that game. I think 290 yards per game rushing in that. They were in the top 10 in that category. And everybody was looking at it like, okay, the Huskies are going to go on and win this thing. Miami's defense had something to say about it, and I'll talk about that first because, AB, you made what was the final play of the game. But, Austin Brown, talk about the defensive strategy going into that game because you held this team to under 100 yards rushing.
And the give is to Spann, and he goes nowhere. Dropped back at the 33-yard line. Miami's defense collapses.
Definitely. And Coach Guidry and Coach Smith, they did a really good job of kind of letting us play our game. Like, we weren't really big, but we were really fast. So we were doing a bunch of slanting and angling and a lot of blitzes, and we bring in certain packages where we'd have 7 DBs on the field and another like 4 linebackers, and you're like, what is going on? So we try to keep Northern Illinois on the toe, and we did a good job of doing that and flying to the football and overlapping, like Coach Reese said, man, all the time. But no, we all played together. We wanted to play for each other, and it showed that night. It really did.
I want you three to kind of talk amongst yourselves here about the offense because, you know, obviously, as I talked about, maybe the playbook was a little bit smaller, but that didn't mean it was any less wide open. Certainly Thomas Merriweather had a great game. Tracy had a great game. But, man, the passing game, it was spot on. I mean, what'd you have, 290 yards or very close to it yourself?
Oh, you're cutting me short, Steve.
It was 3-something, wasn't it?
It was 333.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, actually, that game we were really balanced. I mean, if you think about it, you know, rushing-wise, running backs had, you know, over 100 yards. I mean, even the receivers, you know, Armand led the charge. Armand had a breakout year. That was a breakout game for you, Armand. You had 14 receptions, 176 yards, and a touchdown. And then, you know, from there, everybody else just galvanized around Austin. And just remember being in that huddle, and you know, he was so confident. And sometimes I scratched my head. I was like, this guy is, you know, he's – you know, shorter than 6 foot, I think, you know, but he has that Drew Brees confidence. And, you know, when we had that in the huddle, it allowed us to continue to do well as a team, play balanced, and, you know, we were just destined to win that.
9 men in the box as Sims goes in motion for the Redhawks. Boucher takes the snap, gives to Merriweather. He is hit at the line of scrimmage. Second effort, touchdown, Miami!
Armand, again, he said 14 catches, including the touchdown there. What was it about the offense? And, again, you know, great teams have great camaraderie, and you guys all seem to have that all throughout the year. But what was it about the offense? And particularly that game, man, you were wide open for the touchdown catch. What was
it? The game as a whole, like Chris was saying, being balanced, you know, having a good rushing attack, other area, having multiple receivers that Austin can throw to, left me, you know, a lot of opportunities to get open. And Coach Watts he's a mastermind of trying to get, you know, schemes.
Coach Watts.
Yeah. So he put me in some great positions to get the ball. And the touchdown, to speak for that touchdown, it's interesting. That was a hot route that we had ran all year long. I don't know if you remember, Austin. We kept running that same hot route.
What do you mean?
In practice.
Oh, of course.
Never happened. In the game, it never worked. Or it never was open. We never really completed in the game.
We had that RBO in where Armand was in the slot the entire game, or a lot of the game. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we had an RBO where I could either hand it off to Merriweather or throw it to Armand based off of 2 things. How many individuals were stacking the box, and then how far is that nickel off of Armand? And I remember there was one particular play. It was 3rd and 2. And just to show you the confidence I had in Armand that game, whereas his yards after the catch were just continuing to happen. And every time we had a short yardage and we tried to run, we'd get stuffed. So there was one where the guy was pretty much almost in his face, but I was like, I know Armand's going to get this first down. I know he is. So I caught it, hurried up and threw to him. He breaks the tackle. He gets the first. And it was just, you could see it in his eyes that he was determined his senior year, he's going to go out on top. And he did that throughout the whole game. So a lot of those catches, I think 4 or 5 were those quick throws and let Armand do his thing.
Well, you certainly did in that game. Now, I do want to go back to the play before the touchdown and 4th and 20. And in calling this game, the only thing, and usually, my job is to look and see what's going on the field, tell everybody what's going on the field. That's really my focus. That's everything that, that I do. But the only thing that I could see when I looked down on the field before this play was every Miami fan that was listening to the broadcast had to be praying that we would get this thing. And, the only thing I could think of to say afterwards was prayer answered, because I could see every Miami fan everywhere going, oh, 4th and 20, game on the line. You're behind. You have to score. Tell us about going into that play, the huddle, all about that one. Austin Boucher, we'll start with you, bud.
I appreciate that. So we do need to clarify one thing on there. So 2 things. I had just taken a big sack, which was not what a redshirt freshman should do in that scenario. But I think it was still that confidence. Hey, there's still one more play to be made. And what Northern Illinois was doing us that confused us a lot is they were running a three down offense, and they would show blitz, and the linebackers would blitz, but they would drop ends or a D tackle, often disrupting the underneath. So Coach Watt said, hey, max protection. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, let me see if I got this. I think it was 0 out slot, 80, 10 X comeback. So what that means is max protection, 2 deep ends, and then you got to come back on the right. So we had max protection there. Honestly, I think it was our game. I was able to step in the pocket, roll around. Chris Givens was my intended target. I looked left, right. He was my intended target. The thing that disrupted it was Thomas Merriweather coming from across the field, barely getting a finger on it. So I do want people to know it was intended for Chris Givens there, and I think we were lucky that the velocity was still able to end up in his hands. So I think that's how it started. Let's go.
I was going to say, just
give it to us,
Chris. What's your take?
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, and me and Armand joke about this over the years. I mean, we were actually in the huddle, and I giggle about it, and probably won't say exactly what was said, but I don't know if it was the most positive things that were said, but I remember just telling them, hey, we got one more snap, one more opportunity. And I remember it was 4th and 20, and Austin, I don't know if it was that actual play, but I remember it was I remember for some odd reason I was like, I have a dig route called, but I knew 4th and 20. I was like, well, usually it's at 15. I was like, you know what? I have to take another revolution, meaning another step or 2 to get to that actual, downage. And then from there, I remember Thomas Merriweather coming across, the linebacker kicks him up in the air. And I just knew in my head, I was like, well, the ball's there. It's the longest second of my life. If I drop this, it's just a long, cold bus ride back to Oxford that no one's going to really be there and congratulate us. So, caught the ball. And then after that, I was thinking about like, hey, I'm just trying to get down as close as possible because, we need to score at the end of that. So, and then from there, I mean, that next play, I think the play call was actually 9 out slot, double seam snow. But there was a hot route for Armand. And I remember me and Armand were on the same side. And I was just like, and I was with the furthest receiver outside. And I said, why am I on the same side of Armand? Like, we need to be on the opposite side. Luckily, it was a blown coverage. Actually, if you see the pass thrown, it's at Armand's fingertips. I mean, if he didn't catch that, I mean, obviously we have another opportunity, but he caught it. And I just remember having a sigh of relief because all those fourth quarter programs, Coach Michael Haywood did a great job of instilling discipline into us. Mo Watts had a great playbook, as well as the defense. Austin Brown, you guys made crazy plays that year. So all of that mounted up to that one moment, and it kind of summed up our year. It took a whole total team effort, and then from there, I mean, the rest is in the history books.